Mud floods or the Great Reset reshaped our world. They altered landscapes and erased entire civilizations. They wiped out civilizations and left behind only fragments of history, ruins and relics that tell a story of a forgotten past. In the aftermath of such events, chaos and desperation would have reigned. Families were torn apart, children were left orphaned, wandering in search of safety. Could this be the breeding ground for the Cabbage Patch theory? A theory born out of necessity and survival. Did desperate people abandon unwanted children in fields hoping they would be found? Fields that later became synonymous with cabbage patches. The Cabbage Patch theory may be a subconscious reminder of this turbulent past, a past filled with hardship and resilience, a past we are only beginning to rediscover. As we uncover more artifacts and evidence, the true story of our history slowly comes to light.
The late 19th and early 20th centuries were times of great social upheaval, marked by significant changes in society and the economy. Industrialization and urbanization led to widespread poverty and severe overcrowding in cities. Families struggled to survive amidst these harsh conditions. Many were forced to make impossible choices, often sacrificing their well-being for mere survival. Orphan trains emerged as a solution to the growing number of abandoned children, albeit a controversial one. These trains transported orphaned and abandoned children from overcrowded eastern cities to rural areas where they were promised a better life. While presented as a charitable act, the system was often exploitative, taking advantage of the vulnerable. Children were essentially indentured servants, working long hours on farms and in homes under harsh conditions. Another dark chapter of this era was the rise of incubator babies, a practice that shocked many. Premature infants were displayed in incubators at fairs and exhibitions, drawing crowds of curious onlookers. These displays were presented as scientific marvels, showcasing the latest advancements in medical technology. But they were also a form of entertainment, with people paying to see these fragile lives on display, often without considering the ethical implications. The stories of orphan trains and incubator babies reveal a disturbing truth about this period. Children were often seen as commodities, their lives valued less than economic necessity or public amusement, reflecting the darker side of societal progress.
The late 19th and early 20th centuries saw the rise of a disturbing trend: postcards depicting babies for sale. These postcards were not simply sentimental images, they were often advertisements for baby farms or black market adoptions. The postcards often featured babies posed in baskets, cradles, or disturbingly, cabbage patches. The captions were equally unsettling, with phrases like "babies for sale" or "adopt a baby" printed beneath the images. These postcards are chilling artifacts of a time when child welfare was minimal. They reflect a society where children were often seen as possessions to be bought, sold, or even discarded.
The 1896 film La Fée aux Choux and its 1902 remake Sage Femme de Première Classe tap into the unsettling imagery of the Cabbage Patch myth. These films explore the whimsical yet eerie concept of babies being born in cabbage patches. The films present a fantastical narrative that is both charming and unsettling. They weave together elements of folklore, historical anxieties, and modern fears about child abandonment and exploitation. The Cabbage Patch, a symbol of innocence and new life, becomes a place of both wonder and unease. The Ragamuffins from Our Gang also touches on the theme, albeit in a more light-hearted manner. These films force us to confront the uncomfortable realities of our past and the ways in which they continue to haunt us. The Cabbage Patch Fairy is a popular children's myth, often told to young ones with a sense of wonder and magic. The story goes that babies are born in cabbage patches and delivered to families by magical fairies, who ensure that every child finds a loving home. While seemingly harmless and whimsical, this tale takes on a darker tone when examined in the context of history and societal norms. The original Cabbage Patch Fairy film, released in 1902, presented a romanticized view of this myth, capturing the imagination of audiences. However, a 1932 remake of the film introduced a more unsettling element, shifting the narrative significantly. In this version, the fairies are not benevolent beings who simply deliver joy. They are depicted as ambivalent figures who traffic in children, deciding who gets a baby and who doesn't, adding a layer of moral ambiguity. This darker interpretation of the Cabbage Patch Fairy myth resonates with the historical realities of child abandonment, exploitation, and the harsh truths of orphanages. It suggests that the myth itself may be a sanitized version of a much darker truth, reflecting societal issues that were often hidden beneath layers of fantasy and folklore.
Photographic evidence, postcards, and the commodification of children. The postcards depicting babies for sale are more than just unsettling images. They are potential pieces of evidence offering a glimpse into a hidden and disturbing practice. Some researchers believe these postcards were not simply advertisements, but actual photographs of babies being sold. The poses of the babies, often carefully arranged and sometimes even dressed in specific outfits, suggest a deliberate attempt to showcase them to potential buyers. The fact that some postcards list skills alongside the babies further supports this theory. These postcards, if interpreted in this light, reveal the commodification of children in its most blatant form.
Skills for sale. The disturbing practice of advertising children's abilities. Some of the most disturbing postcards feature captions that go beyond simply advertising babies for sale. These captions list specific skills or attributes of the children, as if they were products to be evaluated and purchased. Good with animals, one might read. Strong and healthy, another might proclaim. These chilling descriptions highlight the dehumanizing view of children as commodities during this era. They were not seen as individuals with rights and needs, but as assets to be bought and sold based on their potential labor value. These postcards are stark reminders of a time when children were often denied basic human dignity.
Children as commodities, a dark side of history. The various threads we've explored, the Cabbage Patch myth, orphan trains, incubator babies, and postcards advertising babies for sale, all point to a disturbing truth. Throughout history, and particularly in the aftermath of societal upheavals, children have been treated as commodities. After the supposed reset events, the need for labor and the breakdown of traditional family structures created a situation ripe for exploitation. Children, particularly orphans and abandoned children, were vulnerable. They were seen as cheap labor, easily controlled and manipulated. The commodification of children is a dark chapter in human history. It's a chapter we often overlook, but one we must acknowledge if we are to learn from the past. The Cabbage Patch, hiding a more sinister truth? The seemingly innocent image of a baby nestled in a cabbage patch takes on a new meaning when viewed through the lens of history. Could this enduring myth be a subconscious reminder of a darker past? A past where unwanted children were abandoned in fields left to the mercy of fate? The cabbage patch, a symbol of life and abundance, becomes a poignant image of desperation and loss. It speaks to a time when families were torn apart and children were discarded. The cultural myths and historical practices we've explored offer a glimpse into a hidden aspect of our past. They reveal a time when children were not always cherished and protected, but often exploited and forgotten.